better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is...
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Tyler Yonke, LPR, coming to you on a Friday, as always. And we're playing a little smooth, dulcet sounds of Player. Baby, come back, because I don't know where you went, but I'm back. A little prelude last week. Just shut this music down right away. Look, Barnes, Rekieta, it's the gift that keeps on giving. We're going to keep playing this game until it runs aground. And I hope everyone is doing fine out there. I talked to Andy this last week. People new to the show may not know Andy. Andy used to be on the show with me all the time until he decided to be more responsible. But he's like, dude, figure your shit out. Quit being so all over the board. That is how I play this game, right, of being this host. But I did think we would do something a little bit different. And I tried to do it a little bit better last week, which is when you're coming in, I'm going to check out the chat. I get too distracted with the chat. I do want to engage. I always feel like you guys, I love the stuff. Maybe we should have a show where we just do chat stuff. I guess it's Ask Me Any type of thing. Ask Me Anything. So I thought maybe I would follow the order here today. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the district attorney's response to Nick Rekieta and his motion to dismiss. We're going to play a little bit of Barnes that we did last week, throwing it in there, because remember what he said, that, you know, cops lie, which they do, but did they lie in this case? Okay. And by the way, Aaron Imulte is now arrested for revenge porn, and I haven't seen Viva Fry and Barnes come out ripping the state for the unconstitutional cops and prosecutors going after this gentleman. They won't do it because they're just one-sided. They're Nick-sided. Okay, let's check in with the chat real quick. Reminder, I know you checked in early, so you should at least be here. He said, chill out, dude. PT Barnes Sideshow. Dwayne says, Texas in the house. Nova Scotia's here as well. Glad to have you guys here. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Pour one out for the homies. This is a Luna Moth Eclipse. I don't even know what the hell. I'm part of this beer club thing, and they're the worst beers. But this is like an IPA of some sort. It's not very much alcohol, so perfect for me today. Hope you had a good Labor Day. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm fucking doing it again. Nick, the DA response. A little bit of Tom Woods, Walter Block, Dave Smith debate. Darryl Cooper on Tucker Carlson. And maybe Lauren Chen, the Russian asset stuff. And it all ties together. And by the way, I don't have a problem with Darryl Cooper. And people freaking out over him. That is my problem, because they are two-sided. Once again, just like Barnes, where your agenda is more important than the truth. That's the problem. And by the way, I don't know, maybe Darryl Cooper's right, maybe he's wrong, if you guys know anything about that. But sorry, I don't always finish sentences, Alan. So with that in mind, I don't know, is Darryl Cooper right or wrong? I'll just say this. He is very good on the Israel and Palestine issue, which listened to his podcast. Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem. It's fantastic. There's people that go at him too hard because he's not hard enough on the Jews or Israel. There's people that go hard enough because they call him a Nazi sympathizer. This is just a way that you don't have to engage in the conversation anymore. It's just you call someone names, much like Barnes. Remember? Oh yeah, Legal Mindset. He's a pet. He's going traveling for weird reasons, right? All right. Let's get into it right now. Okay. But you know what? Let's start off with, I was going to go right to the response here, but let's go right to Viva Barnes. And by the way, I used to kind of have a thing for both of these guys. I don't know about a thing, but I enjoyed them both. This is going to be problematic with Walter Block's face sticking on the bottom of this here. I might have to go into, let's see, maybe we do this one. There we go. Okay, let's play a little bit of this clip here. This has to do with the police officer line.
Challenge whether the cop told the truth. It's it's loosely after Franks versus Delaware called a Franks hearing. What it is, you tell the judge, hey, judge, there was information the cop had access to that he failed to tell the judge, and that's how he got the warrant.
No.
And what's amazing is...
And by the way, we went through it a little bit, and they're going to talk about here with the DA. The standard isn't that he had something that you didn't tell you. It's they withheld. They lied about material facts. Okay, so withholding something, we walked through that with the CPS report. That's a different standard altogether. And by the way, the CPS report, remember, it was issued, and then they did their investigation after the fact. You can find more facts. There you go.
We don't even require. I think we should, but we don't require. We don't impose a negligence standard. So we don't say the cop with due diligence would have done boom, 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 boom. I think we should require that to meaningfully enforce the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution, but we don't. We just say, don't lie. Don't make stuff up. Don't hide stuff. But everything about what this cop did screamed to me from the very beginning, before I'd even read the search warrant affidavit, just looking at the detention warrant, screamed that this cop is a liar. This cop is a fraud. And you don't have to love Nick Rekieta to care about Nick Rekieta.
And I'll say this over and over. This is, once again, Barnes may be great in his own personal practice, but when you go through law school, they hammer this over and over to you, if you have a good professor at least, declarative statements, which is just, you are just declaring something and you're not having any substantial backing for it, right? And a real cheap way, an easy way for you potential wannabe attorneys out there and doing arguments is you say something and then you use the word because, and then you've got to fill it in there, right? So in other words, you make a statement, maybe it's declarative, and then you say because, and then you back it in. So I knew, here'd be Robert Barnes. I knew from the reading the affidavit or whatever he said, the warrant, before that was the declaration of it, that this guy was lying because... And then you say, what gave you that indication, right? But he doesn't, at least I don't think he does. Let's see if he does.
To see that, you just have to care about the Constitution of the United States of America and have a little bit of practical lawyering experience. And so...
By the way, judge will laugh you out of court if you just have declarative statements. Bring evidence, exhibits, right? Exhibits, we've heard about those?
So turned out the cop lied about tons of stuff.
Okay.
So it turned out that Children's Protective Services had already told the cop what's being alleged does not constitute sufficient grounds to allege any kind of child abuse, least of all a crime. Do you think he included that when he mentioned it to the court?
And by the way, we don't know what the letter said, if it said that, or if it just said we have valued it out. We can't make a decision. And I think that's what it was. They couldn't make a decision one way or another, so they just went out. And by the way, I will say this. If you guys, I'm kind of looking at the chat. Hi, Lincoln. How you doing there? Hope you're doing well, buddy, as well. But if you really want to make sure your chat gets read, you know how to do that, okay?
Yeah, he just kind of forgot to put that in there.
Okay.
The second thing, he knew that the weird dude up in Minneapolis had said all kinds of crazy stuff about Rekieta. He was citing him like he's a conservative, saying crazy stuff for 6 months.
Let's get to the video
about Rekieta. And then the third part,
there we go,
was he claimed, remember the videotape where he could magically tell what was and wasn't white powder as opposed to what is a flash reflection? And he knew from his special video insight that must be cocaine. Extraordinary, even though all the behavior he then describes isn't consistent with taking cocaine.
How do you know?
Which I said that screams BS off the plate. Well, of course, he didn't even get the original video. He lied about it. He said, oh yeah, I was watching the original video. No, he didn't even download it. What he did is he saw somebody else talking about it on another video.
There we go. Let's stop right there and we'll go on from there. Okay. So, you heard it. Robert Barnes said he lied. By the way, Meme Copium, I think that's the guy. He's pretty funny. He does some of this stuff as well. He brought up the video because remember, it's still on. I don't want to take the time to do it. It's still on Odyssey. He brought the video up and it's in clear. I don't know if Nick does it in 4K. He definitely can do it in 1080p because that's what StreamYard can definitely do. And he might use OBS and doing it higher. You can see, he put it up on screen the other day because I'm like, I didn't really care about this. Can you really tell that there's, in these copied things that there's coke on his nose. So it's obvious, it's plain, and sorry to spoil it to you. They found coke in the house. Okay. All right. Let's go here to the DA's response. I know this is what everyone is eager beavers here waiting to talk about. And by the way, does this mean that the DA is just right and we go with it? No, but what's important here is, and this is what we're always getting to at the first point was going to be, what are they submitting as evidence, right? You got this police officer. He's got the declaration for the warrant. He's then says all these things he's got to do. You just heard it. He said, didn't watch the video. That should be an issue. Is he able to actually produce this video, right? All those things, right? Sorry. Let's go on here. We're going to read this. State of Minnesota v. Nicholas Robert Rekieta. State's memorandum of law in opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss. This is just 10 pages. It's pretty quick and easy. We'll go right through it. The two issues before the court. First, whether the defendant has made a sufficient showing to warrant a Franks hearing. Second, whether the seizure of the firearms was lawful. Based on the argument herein, the court should deny the defendant's motion in their entirety. Okay, discussion. The defendant is not entitled to a Franks hearing and cannot go beyond the four corners of the search warrant in a probable cause challenge. And by the way, when I first was doing this, we talked about Illinois v. Gates, probably even State v. Wiley. I'm positive I brought those up when I was first doing this Rekieta shit because that is exactly what they say. And we talked about that last time where Barnes is talking about, and actually Joe Neerman is talking about peeling these things off, but you have to take it in the totality. And matter of fact, they say just because one point doesn't work doesn't mean the whole thing is. The totality of the document is what we're looking at. And the issue shall not warrant, the Minnesota Constitution provides that no warrant shall issue without, and by the way, do I agree with that? I don't know. Probably not, but this is the law. So this is what we're working through is what the actual law is. No warrant shall issue without showing a probable cause. U.S. Constitution Amendment 4, Minnesota Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, to determine whether the issuing judge had a substantial basis for finding probable cause. We look to the, quote, totality of the circumstances, State v. Wiley. It's a Minnesota case in 1985. The task of the issuing judge is simply to make a practical, common sense decision whether, given all the circumstances set forth in the affidavit before him, including the veracity and basis of knowledge of person supplying hearsay information, there is a fair probability that contraband or evidence of a crime will be found in a particular place. Illinois v. Gates. Once again, talking to us with Barnes, it's not the standard of hearsay. You can have hearsay upon hearsay. You can have triple hearsay. I heard, right? How many things of hearsay is there in, Ben Stein says it in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's like, not Ben Stein, but he's talking to Ben Stein as a teacher. And it's like, my sister's cousin's nephew's wife, whatever, said he was at a disc. I don't remember the whole quote, but that's what someone was saying why Ferris wasn't in class that day or something like that. Triple, quadruple hearsay. It's someone saying that someone else said that doesn't necessarily, it's a standard. It's fine. Okay. I mean, it's what it is. You got to determine the veracity of that. In reviewing the sufficiency of a search warrant affidavit under the totality of the circumstances test, quote, courts must be careful not to review each component of the affidavit in isolation, which is what they're talking about of the CPS finding the letter, the video, all of these things, right? You take them all into account. And did they have a basis to go in there? Yes. A collection of pieces of information would not be substantial alone to combine to create sufficient probable cause. State v. Jones. Furthermore, the resolution of doubtful or marginal cases should be largely determined by the preference to be accorded warrants. That's in Wiley. Generally, determining whether probable cause exists, both the district court and the reviewing court may consider only the information in the application for the search warrant. Okay, a defendant challenges the accuracy of materials in the facially valid search warrant. The district court is permitted to look beyond the four corners of the warrant application. Whether there was probable cause to support the warrant is decided on the face of the warrant application and the information contained within the four corners of the document. Second, and by the way, they're kind of saying, okay, so CPS, you're not admitting this document from CPS, but it's what's involved that gets it there. So, maybe it would be different if they didn't find anything. I mean, you can't go after the fact there. But the sufficiency of a document saying nothing was there, you put all these other things, it does, okay, that's why we're not including that. You don't have to bring that out. That's your duty of candor as an attorney, of pointing out both sides of the cases that you're quoting. Second, to go beyond the four corners of search warrant, the defendant must establish a substantial preliminary showing that the affidavit contains a false material statement. Okay, the affiant made the false statements intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth, and the false statement is necessary to support the finding of probable cause. U.S. v. Swanson, blah 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 blah. The requirement of a substantial preliminary showing is not easily met. To make this preliminary showing, the defendant must make an offer of proof in the form of a sworn affidavit of a witness. So here's part of the problem you have here. One, it has to be a false statement. It's not, and I guess Barnes would say it's lying by omission. Yeah, well, okay. So the CPS said they didn't have a reason to, or they valued the case out. They didn't make a findings of unsubstantiated, substantiated, any of that. They just evaluated it out, which is a little bit different. Okay, and the reason I say that is because you get a case that says substantiated, there's been abuse, whatnot. That is presumptive that there's a problem in there. Unfounded is, I think that's unsubstantiated, and then unfounded. Unfounded is like, look, they just totally lied. I mean, whoever. I mean, the person is totally innocent. So there you go. A police officer made a search warrant. The rule does not apply to negligent misrepresentations or omissions. So that's where, this is a U.S. v. Schmitz case. That's exactly what the Barnes issue is about, which is omissions do not count. Sorry. Here, no affidavit was offered by the defendant, no testimony offered by the defendant or the defense witnesses. The only challenge to the search warrant comes from the defendant's omnibus motion, alleging this misinformation or lack of information was provided by law enforcement on the search warrant affidavit. The defendant did submit some exhibits in support of their motion. However, their exhibits are incomplete and create a misleading picture of the evidence provided. This is not, you can't do that, right? That's like quoting a case and it has a section that may pertain to you, and then the outcome is completely different, and you're trying to quote it as a defense. That's why when people quote this and you have a brief, you need to be able to look at the cases to have time to respond. But Barnes says when you are in a winning position, you don't respond. Remember, he literally said that last week, that if the prosecutors were confident about their case, they wouldn't ask for a response. That is the dumb. Maybe that's why Alex Jones got 2 defaults judgments against him. Trump has had trouble when he's had some defaults. When anytime Barnes is kind of in the mix, maybe that's the reason. Hey, just don't respond. It's like, but I've been sued. I've got to file a response or they do a default. Trust me. If they had a good case, you have a good case, you don't need to respond. The only challenge for the search warrant comes from the defendant's omnibus motion alleging defendant did submit some exhibits. They were lacking. However, their exhibits are incomplete and create a misleading picture of the evidence provided. This is essentially a fishing expedition by the defendant to go beyond the 4 corners of the warrant. The defendant is attempting to get a Franks hearing without making the requisite showing. Yeah, it sounds like to me you need to show with a declaration that there's a lie. The defendant argues that Candy Ojai County Health and Human Services, KCHHS, screening out the initial child maltreatment report should have ended the inquiry of law enforcement. The search warrant is not only based solely on the child maltreatment report, The warrant was not based solely on that, okay? Further, the screening of the child maltreatment report is controlled by an entirely different set of statutes and standards and criminal offenses. Exactly, which is, hey, a criminal offense is simply to, and I'll just say it this way when we do this in family court all the time, which is you may admit to a judge of crimes. Happens, one that you get here, a matter of fact, in California is maybe someone is in the country illegally. That judge is not going to report them. It's California, first of all. Maybe they're doing fraud to another agency, a California agency. They're not going to report them. They're just not, and it's different standards, right? That's not what they're doing. And they're not going to necessarily shut down an issue with family court unless it's specific to what they have going on there, or unless it involves something else like overriding, like criminal standard would, if there's a criminal case against child, you're going to bring that in. Whether there is enough evidence, say a different set of statutes and criminal offenses, whether there is enough to investigate a child maltreatment report has no bearing on whether or not criminal activity may be occurring. No. Right. Yeah, exactly. Child maltreatment reports are cross-reported between law enforcement and child protection. So they do report those over there. This is a state mandate. Once Detective Pomplin received, that's a stupid name, and this is coming from Tyler Yonke, received the child maltreatment report, he began an investigation into whether or not there was criminal activity related to controlled substances. The purpose of his inquiry is different and not controlled by by child protection standards. Both agencies started with the same information provided in the initial report. Applying their unique standards to that information, each agency proceeded differently. It is not relevant to the child maltreatment report was screened out by KCHHS, even if it was relevant. Whether or not the child maltreatment report was screened out by an entirely different agency using a different standard has no bearing on the probable cause determination of the search warrant. The report, and by the way, this is all stuff Barnes just glosses over, and it's horrible, and it doesn't help anybody because it riles people up. I did a case, I'm trying to remember it. It just went to the Supreme Court, and it was about domestic violence and a gun, and I'm watching a video of a libertarian, and he's interviewing a lady, and she's talking about due process, and she's got a lot of good things to say, and then she talks about this case, how it goes to the Supreme Court, and there was no... Imagine this is what she said. Imagine this. He didn't even get a chance to fight this case in court. He didn't, it makes it sound like Randy Weaver, right? With the shotgun thing. And I'm like, what? So look into it. And it's like, no, he not only had a chance, he went into court and then he stipulated and signed an agreement. I saw the agreement. He signed an agreement that he pled guilty to domestic violence. Now, the issue was later on, he was trying to get a gun, so they're trying to work this off of Bruin, the new standards of Bruin. But she was completely wrong about it, and I don't understand. You rile people up with false information. It doesn't help. That's the wrong case. It's like anyway, we'll keep going. The defendant also argues that Detective Pomplin intentionally misrepresented the relationship between the defendant and Aaron Minholte. In the application for the search warrant, Detective Pomplin notes that there was a pre-existing relationship between the defendant and Minholte by referring to prior videos where they appeared together or Minholte appeared from the defendant's home. Detective Pomplin included that there may have recently had a falling out between Minholte. Yeah, they were banging the same chicks. He also indicated that Minholte in April had separated. Detective Pomplin informed the ensuing magistrate that Minholte and the defendant were no longer on good terms. The quote, full-throated, quote, threats that the defendant references in his memorandum all involved the idea that Minholte knows information about the defendant that the defendant does not want to be made public. This does not indicate something more than a falling out. The statements that the defendant cites are not threats or to physically or financially harm the defendant. They are statements about sharing information that the defendant does not want shared. And by the way, that's the Aaron Minholte thing. He got him on on revenge porn. And, if Barnes was, really worried about the Constitution, he would say, hey, Nick has now, Aaron's First Amendment rights to speak have been infringed on. He can't speak about Kayla anymore because the fucking state came in and they did this stupid revenge porn thing on him. And now he can't talk about this hussy. So, but Barnes won't say that. Maybe he got a picture. Detective Palmer's statements that there may have been a falling out between Immolde is not material misrepresentation of the facts. The defendant may disagree with it, but that does not make it a lie. The statement indicates that there's no longer an ongoing relationship. A, quote, falling out, unquote, indicates that the ending of the relationship was not on good terms. Even if the statements the defendant cited in his memorandum were included in the probable cause portion of the affidavit, there is still probable cause. The statements cited by the defendant indicate that Immolde and the defendant a prior personal relationship that is no longer going on. This is the same information provided by Detective Pomplin. Yeah, and it's just confirmation. It's just another teeny piece. Even maybe it's from a sketchy person saying, hey, there's drug use. And then you look at these videos and you're like, yeah, there's drug use. And then you hear him talking and you're like, yeah, there's drug use. And then you have the CPS report and it's like, there could be drug use. You hear the reports from the other mandated report or the preacher in the school and the kids aren't dressed. Yeah, there could be a probable cause. Then the house is a piece of shit and it's filthy. Yeah, there could be probable cause. All of that mix in there. And just a little bit of Immolde's statement just is another feather in that cap. The information by Immolde is not the sole basis for the search warrant. Immolde's video on May 22, 2024 refers to a video the defendant produced on why did they go May 2022, and then they go 5/21, but you got to be consistent. So maybe Nick will point this out and rip the DA for this. I'm not a fan of this myself. I try not to do this. I just use numbers because it's just easier. Where the defendant appeared to be under the influence of a controlled substance, Detective Pomplin did not rely on that statement alone. Detective Pomplin watched the defendant's video for himself, which is, according to Barnes, a lie. Defendant Pomplin had been trained as a drug recognition. Yeah, we know all that drug stuff. Who cares? Sometimes that could all be bogus. Based on his review of the video, I'm not trained in that, and it was obvious Nick had a problem. Detective Pomplin stated the defendant was showing signs of being under the influence of a controlled substance. Yeah, no shit. The defendant argues that Detective Pomplin did not watch the entire video and that the defendant published on his social media on May 21, 2024. In support of that contention, he submitted a PowerPoint. There you go. That's evidence, Barnes. That contains a clip from that video stream. The clip is less than 1 minute long and does not include any audio. This was a clip from the full video that Detective Pomplin created. It was disclosed to the defendants on July 3, 2024. Defendant counsel downloaded it. Okay, from the full video, a clip from the full video that did. It's a little confusing there, but what they're saying is the DA is like, he has the fucking full video. He created a clip. We gave you that clip because that's kind of the pertinent part, right? There's a lot of it before. It's like a security video, right? There's a few minutes that are really important when Nick comes in and shoots the clerk at the grocery store or something like that. That's what's necessary. However, to see when he comes in, we have this 24-hour video we're going to give to the police. We're not going to cut it. We're going to give it to the police. They give it to the police, and then the police is like, yeah, but this section right here is really what we're looking for. So we'll cut a video. We'll have that clip as ready evidence. But by the way, I still have the full video. Oh, and by the way, it was disclosed to the defense on July 3, 2024. Okay, Barnes. Defense counsel downloaded it at 12:31 p.m. on July 3, 2024. What was also disclosed on July 3, 2024 at the same time as the PowerPoint clip was the entire 4-hour and 4-minute long video. I think it's a little longer than that, actually, from the defendant's channel with audio. So he ripped it somehow. Obviously, it's very easy to do. Just go on Google, or whatever you use. I use Brave. A YouTube downloader. Hit enter. Oh, there's multiple of these up. You take the link and you put it in there. Boom, you can rip it. You can download the video. You can also, if you go on Rumble, you can probably do a similar. Yes, I use those same things. Odyssey has this nice button where you just click it and it downloads, I think. I'm pretty sure. So he got the full video. By the way, you can still go to Odyssey and download this wonderful video. So this video has been uploaded to MD. That's the court document system where they upload their exhibits and stuff for each other and probably for discovery for that court to review and shared with the defendant. So the court has a clip, the defendant has a clip, the defendants downloaded it. You're able to see timestamps of this stuff when the defendants, the defense counsel actually did download it. Oops. Now, this is the Robert Barnes? It's one of the members of our community. He pays on locals. I don't know. Maybe he's a good attorney, but this is kind of shady. The defense argues that the clip on the PowerPoint was manipulated, but as you can see from the full video stream, the clip is taken directly from the video at approximately 2. And by the way, we know this is a problem. And you guys here in the chat last week, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, was saying that is like, he's referencing the timestamps of the actual long ass, painful to watch video, 4-some hour video. So he's referencing when that's happening. So it always seemed odd to me when I saw that. I'm like, oh, he has the full video somehow. 2 hour 50 minutes and 40 seconds into the video. The only editing is to cut the short clip from the entire video. The other brand on the clip may have been from the application used to make the clip. He's using the free stuff. The full video shows that it is entirely from the defendant's channel. There are no other labels or markings to indicate that the video is not authentic. Detective Pomplin informed the issuing magistrate that the video was no longer publicly available, but that he was able to view the entire video stream. The entire video is consistent with the statement. He's able to view the entire video stream because he downloaded it. I mean, I wish they would just say that kind of stuff in here. The entire video is consistent with the statement made by Immolti. Detective Pomplin used his own training as a drug recognition expert to download the video. No, to describe the defendant's behavior and how it is consistent with controls. Detective Pomplin did not misrepresent he viewed the entire video. This was disclosed to the defendant. The defendant has had this video for over a month prior to omnibus hearing. Wow. Instead of being candid with the court, the defendant implied that the only video that was disclosed to them was the short clip. What the fuck are you doing? This blows me away. Is Nick this dumb, or is his attorney this bad? Are they this dishonest? Because, by the way, you can say whatever you want about attorneys, scumbags, liars, but doing that to that's fine. But doing that to the court is another matter, right? That's just crazy. The defendant implied that the only video that was disclosed to him was the short clip. This has the appearance of an intentional misrepresentation to the court of what information has been disclosed. So let me get this straight. Nick says you should throw this out because the cop lied because he did not fully disclose everything. And then I'm going to do the same and make charges. It's crazy. Additionally, Detective Pomplin viewed videos from the defendant's channel going back several months between January 24 and May 24. And by the way, I would also say this. I have to read the affidavit again for the search warrant, but does he have to have that video himself? I mean, if he said he watched the full 4 hours, does he have to have downloaded it even? Now he did, obviously, because he was able to share it with them. But I don't even think that's nothing. It's like, I saw a car go by. I saw Nick go by in a car, and he was, his dick was in Aaron's mouth. That's just an example, as I'm saying, right? I don't have a video of it, but I saw it. So you take my testimony, much like a lot of stuff. This is crazy. Detective Pomplin notes that the defendant's changed in appearance, including lost weight, appears tired, overall appears strung out, and all these were common controlled stuff. Yeah, we know that. Defendant has failed to make the requisite showing that the affiant, Detective Pomplin, intentionally made false statements with reckless disregard for the truth. Therefore, the defendant is not entitled to a frank hearing. Any challenge to the search warrant is limited to the 4 corners of the document. State requests an additional briefing schedule if the defendant is raising a general probable cause challenge to the search warrant. Okay. The seizure of the firearms was lawful under the plain view exception. How you guys doing? Hope everyone's hanging in there. Okay. We'll keep going with this. We got 3 pages left. They just worked this one over. We talked about the plain view exception. It seems like it's not going to work, Barnesy, but we'll see. The defendant's argument is grounded in the prohibition of, we did that. On unreasonable searches and seizures found in the federal and state constitution, U.S. Constitutional Amendment 4, and what's that? 10, 11, 16, Minnesota Constitution, Article 1, Section 10. The provisions provide that the right of the people to be secure in their persons effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue upon probable cause. As a general rule, any search warrant search without a warrant is per se unreasonable unless the search falls within one of the few specifically established, well delineated exceptions. California v. Acevedo, 1991. It is well established that under certain circumstances, items not named in a search warrant may be properly seized. The plain view exception to a particularity requirement of the Fourth Amendment is satisfied when an officer lawfully executing a search warrant authorizing the search of certain items inadvertently comes upon those items of incriminating nature immediately apparent. Police have probable cause to seize an object in plain view if the facts available to the officer would warrant a person of reasonable caution in the belief that certain items may be useful in evidence of crime. To justify a warrantless seizure under the plain view exception, probable cause must be the basis of the evidence revealed in plain view and cannot be obtained after conducting some further search of the object. See this? So what I'm interested in here is what are they going to say about the plain view? Were the items in plain view? Did they have to move stuff? The problem you have is, where do you search for drugs? Everywhere. And therefore you can be searching for drugs and then find guns. The search warrant of the defendant's home was to search for controlled substances. During that search, law enforcement located a number of firearms. Exact models and locations are listed in Supplemental Report 1 submitted by the defense. The officers were acting with their legal authority to search the defendant's home pursuant to the search warrant. When they located the firearms, there was no limitation in the search warrant that the areas of the defendant's home were not to be searched. See, that's important. It's not a general warrant, though. It's drugs. The firearms are located under the bed in the master bedroom, in the garage, and in a safe in the garage in the home. Searching those locations was authorized by the initial search warrant. And you've got to say, I think that's also where they found drugs. When law enforcement found the firearms, it was immediately apparent that they were evidence of a crime. In Minnesota, it was unlawful for a user of controlled substances to possess a firearm. It's also federal statutes. That's what Bruin's been going after, remember? Also located at the home was over 26 grams of coke, Schedule 2 controlled substance, and 8 doses of units of ketamine. So drug report must have come back. That was the brown substance that we had talked about that they didn't know it at the time, ketamine. Schedule 2 controlled substance. There was also evidence of use of controlled substances also in the home, the master bedroom. Law enforcement located 3 snort tubes that field tested positive for cocaine, a glass container with metal filter, and a grinder. Is that? So they found April, the grinder that field tested positive for cocaine, a bag of cards. Okay. I mean, so he plays cards. I imagine they were probably Pokemon cards, and a dollar bill that field tested positive for cocaine, a digital scale that field tested positive for cocaine. These people are a mess. They ever heard of cleaning things up? Walter White wouldn't be happy about this. A mental pan. I think you mean metal. Oh my God, another mistake. First we had the dates written out as May and then numbers of May, and now your mental pan that field tested positive for cocaine, 2 metal cutters that field tested positive for cocaine, a $100 bill that field tested positive, a cocaine scooper. Those items are direct evidence of use in the home in addition to actual controlled substances found. Also Detective Pomplin as a drug, he's so trained as a drug person. As well as the statements of the individual from the child protection who indicated that, So yeah, all this leads to illegal activity. When law enforcement found firearms in the home, it was immediately apparent. That's what you got to know. It's got to be immediately apparent that this was evidence of a crime based on the controlled substances used. There's no need for further search. There was no need to further search the firearms. Okay. Their possession is evidence of a crime, making it immediately apparent to law enforcement of their evidentiary value. Accordingly, their seizure was lawful under the plain view exception to the warrant requirement. Conclusion: the defendant's motions should be denied in their entirety. The defendant failed to make the requisite high showing. Well, Nick made the high showing. We saw that on the video. That Detective Pomplin made any material misrepresentations or omissions of the application of the search warrant. The defendant's arguments relies heavily on their assertion that Detective Pomplin did not view the entire video of the defendants referenced in the search warrant application. This argument completely overlooks the fact that the entire video was disclosed. I'm sorry. I have to laugh because it is so embarrassing. This is what Nick and Barnes have been going off for weeks. Remember Nick? He literally said on his stream he lied, and we're going to be able to prove it. Is he still doing snort tubes? You only got to be this high to. I mean, I want everyone to understand, pro or con on Nick, you file these things. You throw everything at the kitchen sink to save your ass, to get something kicked out. That's exactly, winning on technicality. Why do you think it's a term? Because it happens. I've done it myself many times. Not enough, but it happens. But you got to throw this shit out there to see if it works. I get it. But the problem is doing so and then lying to the court. Lying to us, that's standard. I'm used to that. Lying to the court is not good, and this shit we're gonna show he lied, and then to do this is it's pathetic. Woo. Okay, do we go through all this chat? There's quite a few people in here. I pray. No, Doctor of Madness says, I pray that Barnes is to Nick and what Nick was to Vic Lasagna. I don't know how to spell Vic's surname. I hope Barnes grifts the hell out of Nick's case. We already know Barnes is just wrong. He is. Karma 101. I watch Meme Copium at times. He's grifting the hell out. Yes, he is. And I'm fine with it. As long as he takes Nick down with him, I'm all for it. I don't know Aaron like I do Rekieta, but the guy is Nick's equal. They both like, absolutely. And this should be a good. And am I going to say this and then get caught later on? No. And because I say this from the beginning, which is you don't cock, you treat your wife with respect. You treat your wife as this person that you want your kids to look up to you, how you treat her, right? It's like, so you respect her. There's grandparents involved. There's your kids involved. They have to respect you at the end of the day. You don't do this kind of shit. And if you're going to do drugs, if you're going to be like, Mr. Libertarian, that's me. And I'm going to go off and I'm going to do some of these drug things. Then if you have kids, minors at home, you don't fucking do it around them. Maybe go up in the woods, crack one open, do whatever you got to do up there, but you don't bring that shit home. Okay. Because it's stupid to do because, and plus, when you're a person like Nick, where you're calling out the government, you're high profile, it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. I hope Nick gets help and cleans up the video, but I still kind of like to see him pull off a Chewbacca defense. Yeah, okay. Did you see the Drex tweet from today? No, and so maybe I don't know if there's any way you could share that, but I've been busy. I was work early, had to watch the tour of Spain, Vuelta a España. Then I had to do a bunch of work. I did work, came right home, set everything up. I've been in here. So I haven't seen shit. I haven't seen shit today, people. Okay, let's, so Barnes said his piece. We're done with that. A bunch of stinkers. I thought, and maybe this is where I'm going to start losing some fans or listeners. I call it fans. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to offend you at all. This is what there's a problem right now, and this I don't know if I should get in trouble. It's the Jewish-Palestinian issue going on, right? It happened with Russia, Ukraine. I'm not invested in either side. I don't know much about it, but when you start calling people names immediately, that is when, to me, I start to, okay, so what do you want us to know? What is the problem? So the problem you have with a lot of right-wingers, and I used to get caught up in this as well. I remember doing this exact thing, which is you just call them an anti-Semite, and now you don't have to even think about their position. And I knew going way back that there were a lot of problems with my stance of being pro-Israel, okay? Some things just didn't make sense. But I just overlooked it because that's what you do as a right-winger. You just overlook it. Now you've got Darryl Cooper going on Tucker. You've got Tom Woods had Walter Block and Dave Smith on. I'm going to play a few of those clips because I think they're kind of interesting. And okay, let's see if I could find it. And so my point on this is once again, having your ideology more important than the truth. Okay, because if you can't tell the truth, and I'm having trouble finding this. If you can't tell the truth, then I'm not going to believe you. I'm going to have trouble doing that in general. So here we go. Okay, let's start out this one. This, by the way, this was just hilarious to me. Okay, so. Okay, hang on. So this is Walter Block. He's a well-known anarchist, libertarian. So the idea there is, anti-war, whatnot. And he comes on and he's doing this debate. And I did not cut this. This is exactly how it was, and I thought it was hilarious.
I'll end with a quote from Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi Netanyahu said, if we put down our arms, there'll be no more Israel. If Hamas puts down its arms, there'll be peace.
Hey everybody, Clown World is getting crazier and more deranged and dangerous every single day.
Tom Woods had a commercial that cut in there, and that's what he said. And it was like, okay, what? Now, I did move his sponsors, so you didn't know that there. Okay. That was good. Okay. This is also, and I'm going to go do two more quick ones here. And, anybody wants to talk about the stuff, I don't mind at all. So, okay, let's see if I can do, hang on. I didn't have them completely ready to go. Okay. This one is,
return. These are things.
Okay. Hang on, Walter Block. We're going to play this. Now, Walter Block, I think he misstates what Netanyahu said. I could be wrong, but this many people say this, and they use Palestinian, not Hamas. Okay, that's kind of their claim.
Every turn, because if they return, they get killed. Whereas in Israel, there are Arabs who are on the Supreme Court, there are Arabs who are judges, Arabs who are professors, Arabs who are, they say that it's like South Africa, of course, that's nonsense. I'll end with a quote from Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi Netanyahu said, if we put down our arms, there'll be no more Israel. If Hamas puts down its arms, there'll be peace.
Okay, the clown war part. Good. So what was interesting there is you can't have it both ways. You can't have it where you say, look, if we let, because this has been, now the Netanyahu may be Hamas, but I've heard over and over too many people say, Laura Loomer et al., you can't let just let the Palestinians go into in Israel, just let them free out of this hellhole. No, we can't do that, because if they go free, they'll just slaughter everybody. And then in the same voice, the same you saw there, Walter Block says, yeah, but you don't understand. In Israel, they can be Supreme Court justices. They can be on the court. They have all these rights. And I'm like, well, which is it? They're either going to mass kill you, or they're going to be a Supreme Court justice. But so which is it? And maybe I'm being too simplistic, but that doesn't work for me. Okay, that's not being intellectually honest. Okay. Someone put up here. Let's go here. The Drex thing. Let's take this. Real Drex. Should we do this in real time? Let's see if I can find it here. And I don't know what real _ you're going to get me in trouble. You're going to get me like, is it something I don't know about? The Real Drex. Okay. What? Don't sit on. It's a Baldo. It's a picture of that. Okay. So I don't want that. Is that what you're talking about? That's that's funny. Dr. Madness says, exactly, when you have kids, you're not entitled to a life of hedonism and drugs every once in a while. Like once a year trip, go balls to the walls, crazy responsibility, and not on the internet, and go for it. Yeah, that's pretty. What are we talking about today? Minder, you were the first person in the chat, and now you're just here. No, we're not live. I've been enjoying the childish screaming and stomping about the Tucker interview. Ben Dominic reaction was great. I have his. Thank you for exactly what I was gonna say there. Okay, so one last thing I want to do here, and this is once again, this is just me being Tyler. This has maybe, I don't care what you
people. He's wrong on two grounds. Here's one ground, and the other ground is abortion, at least from the Rothbardian point of view. My own view on abortion is a little different. I don't want to get into it heavily, but let me just mention evictionism. And in my view, the proper view on abortion is evictionism. And you're always able to evict because you own the private property of your body, the woman. And it's unfortunate that in the first 6 months, if you evict, the baby will die. But in the last trimester, you're allowed to evict, but you're not allowed to kill. So again, we have another example where, according to libertarianism, it's okay to kill innocents. It's not only okay, but it's legal. And
okay, that seems outright wrong to me. And here's the idea. So he calls it like a property right in eviction, where you can actually evict someone like you would from your house. The problem is these are invited guests. The baby, likely, we're taking off the table, someone was raped and they forced themselves into your house, but that's really what it is. You got pregnant and you invited someone into your house, therefore they are there. You don't get to then kill the person that has a legitimate right to be in your house, a guest, okay, you actually have to give them notice. And now it's similar, I would say, if you invite this guest in, which is you're having sex, what are the consequences? I might have a 9-month lessee, okay? Someone who's going to lease this property from me for 9 full fucking months. Okay, that is, you know, without doubt, you're inviting your in-laws in and they always stay 9 months, and that's going to happen. You let a sperm come in, it mixes with the egg. Next thing you know, there is a baby. It's going to be 9, a little bit more, months. Okay. You don't get to evict that person. That's my 9-month lease. I don't get to go and just evict you out of your house because I have a lease with you. You have to give proper notice, and that lease ends they've been paying rent. I'm sorry. Maybe, okay, they're leeching off you a little bit. But I'm just saying, Walter Block's analogy of this eviction stuff, I think is bullshit. And I've talked about it before. I haven't talked about it, but I've heard him talk about it before, and it does get destroyed. So on a property basis, you can't do that. Plus, you don't get to evict and kill them. That's no, the baby is not invited. It creates itself inside the house. I don't know if you're joking. Carrie Baldwin is fine. And you're right. It is. It does create itself inside the house. Carrie Baldwin's debate with Walter Block at the Faux Forum was great. And Walter comes away saying, I think she's good. She won. Yes, it may create itself in there, but the invitation is I still think that it blows his argument away either way. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Okay. Let's play a clip and then we'll be done here in a second. This is a longer clip, and I'll probably stop this a little bit as well. This is the Tucker Carlson had on Darryl Cooper. I'm going to play a little bit of it here. And yes, the freak out is crazy, and it's problematic because they're just like Barnes. It's declarative statements over and over and over. There are a few people taking him on, perfectly fine, but you don't call him a Nazi. And I want to ask this question, but I don't want to get myself in trouble, but we'll start it right here. Take it away.
I got in trouble with my podcast partner, Jocko Willink, one time.
Okay, so Jocko Willink. Okay, you all know who Jocko is. Perhaps you don't. He's a big guy. Left and right seems to like him, love him. The right does definitely love him. And I would just say he does a podcast with Darryl Cooper. And no one's asking, everyone's saying, hey, why is Tucker Carlson platforming this Nazi? No one is asking, why has Jocko continually platformed this Nazi? They won't do it. And I know they won't because they'll get their ass kicked probably by Jocko. And it's an unfair
because he's
criticism.
A New England Dutchman whose his family, it's near and dear to they're Dutch, but very near and dear to their heart that Winston Churchill is a hero, right?
Well, everyone
thinks that. He really thinks that. And I told him that I think, and maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic, maybe, but I told him, maybe trying to provoke him a little bit, that I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. Now, he didn't kill the most people. He didn't commit the most atrocities. But I believe, and I don't really think, I think when you really get into it and tell the story right and don't leave anything out, you see that he was primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did, becoming something other than an invasion of Poland. Or just, I mean, at every step of the way, like people are very often, I find, surprised to learn. There's a 2-step process.
Well, why don't you just make the case for that? Okay, so you've made your statement. A lot of people are thinking, well, wait a second. You just said Churchill, my childhood hero, the guy with the cigar.
Yeah. Well, and the next thought that comes into their head is that, oh, you're saying Churchill was the chief villain, therefore his enemies, Adolf Hitler and so forth, were
Stalin,
the protagonists, right? Yeah. They're the good guys if you think he's a villain. That's not the case. That's not what I'm saying. Germany, look, they put themselves into a position, and Adolf Hitler is chiefly responsible for this, but his whole regime is responsible for it, that when they went into the East in 1941, they launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, of local political prisoners and so forth that they were going to have to handle. They went in with no plan for that. And they just threw these people into camps, and millions of people ended up dead there. You have
Okay. One, he's not Holocaust denying because he just said millions of people dead. Okay. 2, he said, I might be a little hyperbolic. I'm trying to rile up Jocko. Fine. He also said, I'm not saying the Nazis were the good guys, okay, at all. I'm not saying that. And by the way, what's so interesting about what he and Tucker are really going down here, right, is they are saying, I think Churchill allowed too many Jews to die. That's what they are saying. And the Jews and the Republicans that are freaking out about this, they're saying, how dare you not allow us, one, to love Churchill and to still be victims? That it's like to preserve this victimhood, and you can only do that if you have, because what if there was someone like Churchill who was, complicit, just a little bit, just like Aaron Himolte in The Cop, right? Let's play a little bit more here. Keep going.
You have like letters as early as July, August 1941 from commandants of these makeshift camps that they're setting up for these millions of people who are surrendering or people they're rounding up. And so it's 2 months after, a month or two after Barbarossa was launched. And they're writing back to the high command in Berlin saying, we can't feed these people. We don't have the food to feed these people. And one of them actually says, rather than wait for them all to slowly starve this winter, wouldn't it be more humane to just finish them off quickly now? And so this is like 2 months into the invasion, right? And like my view on this, I argue with my Zionist interlocutors about this all the time with regard to the current war in Gaza. Look, man, like maybe you as the Germans, you felt like you had to invade to the east. Maybe you thought that Stalin was such a threat, or that if he...
That's the problem. That's the problem that right there, which is he's equating the Germans in World War II with the Zionists currently, and that can't be done.
Launch a surprise attack and seize the oil fields in Romania, that you would now not have the fuel to actually respond, and you'd be crippled, and all of Europe would be under threat, and whatever it was that like maybe you thought you had to do that. But at the end of the day, you launched that war with no plan to care for the millions and millions of civilians and prisoners of war that were going to come under your control. And millions of people died because of that, right? And you can look at it and say like...
his hand gesture is a little unnerving. I'm just throwing that out there.
So get back to your main question about Churchill. If you go to 1939, when the Germans and the Soviet Union invade Poland, as soon as that war's wrapped up on the German side, Hitler starts firing off peace proposals to Britain and France because they had already declared war. He didn't expect them to declare war, actually. Like there's a famous scene where he kind of throws a fit when he finds out that they did do that. And so he doesn't want to fight France. He doesn't want to fight Britain. He feels that's going to weaken Europe when we've got this huge threat to the east.
I can't see anything but his hand. It's bothering me now.
The communist threat over there. And he starts firing off peace proposals. He says, let's not do this. Like, we can't do this. And of course, a year goes by, 1940 comes around, and they're still at war. And so he launches his invasion to the west, takes over France, takes over Western and Northern Europe. Once that's done, and the British have, escaped at Dunkirk, there's no British force left on the continent. There's no opposing force left on the continent. In other words, the war is over.
I'm sorry. Let's keep going here.
And the Germans won. Okay.
But by what point?
Fall of 1940, right? So there's literally no opposing force on the continent. And throughout...
Okay, I'm going to stop there. And the reason I'm going to stop there is because, I don't know, he could be right. I find him interesting, okay? And what I found, what's abhorrent there, okay? Nothing I found there to be wrong. And so the gaslighting and the hatred scene about it was a little bit over the top. Let me see if I can actually find some of this here. We'll get up to some of these others. I bookmarked them. Okay, there we go. So, I'm sure Ben Shapiro freaked out. I haven't seen what he said, though. Here we go. And I like Michael Moynihan, but Michael Moynihan, fifth column, says, pointing out people I was wrong. People pointing out I was wrong proved that I was right. Because Martyr Maid, which is Darryl Cooper, he's went on the emotional incontinence of people upset about my Tucker interview, is proof of my point about the sacred nature of World War II mythos, and has done more to weaken the narrative than anything I could have said myself. So thanks, guys. I couldn't do it without you. Yeah. So basically, he's like, look, you can't say this kind of shit, and then the reaction is like, oh yeah, and you're a Nazi, and it's like proves it. But then Michael Moynihan is up there. Ben Domenech, he's like, I'm on the side of my grandfathers with World War II on their gravestones. Tucker can stay on his side of the others. James Lindsay, Howard Zinn of the right, Sebastian Gorka, for his sins. So, for my sins, I've listened to Tucker Carlson's last interview in full. The rank illogic is quite stunning, and the gaslighting. Darryl Cooper opens by explaining his Martyr Maid podcast philosophy. I recorded 32 hours of Jim Jones. He was innocent child, just like Uday Hussein. No, he actually says that. Then just 20 minutes later, he labels Churchill, the savior of the West, a, quote, psychopath and the villain of World War II. I guess Churchill was never an innocent child like the cult leader who his parents poisoned their children. Amazing how cranks who hate our civilization could get the following irresponsibly platformed so easily. Yeah, it's a little crazy. I'll talk about that, which is... so the problem you have with that kind of stuff is he explains it. His point there is it's interesting to hear, for the most part, these villains are people as babies. That's the whole fucking thing about would you kill baby Hitler, right? That's it. That's the question. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a baby. At the time, that child hasn't gone through all this, hasn't been raped multiple times by the neighbor, just so it turns him gay. I don't know. There's the problems that haven't happened yet, and maybe you can save them. Maybe you can't. Maybe there's, and he does mention, he goes, look, I don't know if he says Dahmer. He does mention one of these people. He goes, complete psychopaths, completely different thing. But they are human, right? And that is what the point is. Unlike Minder here, who is really insistent on, no, the baby is not invited. Okay, the baby is not invited. She creates inside itself inside the house. Listen to it. I have listened to it, but are you saying, how did the sperm get there? The sperm was invited. That's my point. So yes, it gets created within there. I guess there's, if you talk about that part, it's just a little bit different. All I was saying is if you take his logic of evictionism, it doesn't even work in that context. What you're saying, Minder, is that the child is basically homesteaded. Okay, inside that. Yes. Okay, so it's even a more strong property right. I get it. This is a very interesting. Okay, he was talking about the invasion of the Soviet Union, not the Holobolga. Okay. Check out Sean McKeegan's Stalin's War. Keith had him on the podcast a few years ago. Dunkirk was a joke. Hitler had the opportunity to take out the entire force in Dunkirk and didn't because he saw the British and French as brothers. Why did the bankers fund Hitler's rise? Okay, so what's interesting is I did this podcast a few years ago, is when Mark Claire was splitting off from the Mises Caucus, and then these two losers. I'm trying to at Craig. I'm trying to remember it was the guy that used to be in charge. Anyway, they had this podcast with this left guy, and they talked about how the Mises Caucus was all Nazis, and they pointed to this thing about equating Nazis and, sympathetic to Nazis in Germany. So you look at it, and the idea there is about, and then I had Thaddeus Russell on. He talked a little bit more about it. There was even a video. It was Ken Burns and his wife had done a video about immigration, World War II, and they talked to Nick Gillespie, and it all ties the same thing, which is Hitler was trying to get rid of the Jews. He had a Jewish problem. We understand that. We understand that he had in his mind this problem, whether you think that that's a problem or not. Now I'm getting down this rabbit hole. The point is, he was trying to get rid of him. The U.S. is like, nope, we're not taking him. So that was the point of the article. Thaddeus Russell has talked about that too, how we could have saved a bunch of, we being the Americans, could have saved a bunch of Jews by taking more in on immigration. That's exactly what Thaddeus Russell, and we talked to Ken Burns about. So and then you get labeled as a Nazi, a sympathetic Nazi, because what you're saying is you're pointing out the truth, which is Hitler's like, here, I don't know the whole story about all this, by the way. The bankers didn't fund Hitler. This was disproven many times. Check out. I don't know, people. My point on all this is the freak out reaction to it. It's wrong. It's calling people names. It's Barnes. It's Walter Block was decent in his interview, but he's wrong. But it's all those people, the Ben Dominiches, Viva Frei, all these people, when they forsake their principles to go after their agenda and make sure that their agenda stays on top all the time. Last thing I'm going to play here. This was, I've never seen this before, but I'm going to just play this because someone posted this up. This could be a big mistake. But it's a 5-second clip. Let's enjoy it with me. It was on my Twitter.
It's frustrating to get entangled in whatever it is she's accused of being involved in.
Folks, our friends in Israel need our help now more than ever. If you're looking for a tangible way to support the Holy Land, you need to check out Artza Box. Artza brings the essence of Israel right to your doorstep. Every 3 months, you receive a...
That's a funny thing they're talking about that. Okay. I wanted to play... this issue of Lauren Chen. What is it? What's the name of their company? I don't know. Anyway, there's an indictment. I haven't gone through it. By the way, an indictment is a grand jury coming back and saying, yeah, there's likely something here, and then the DA can go forward with charges and whatnot. No one's been. Anyway, Lauren Chen. The idea is $10 million went to Lauren Chen's company, Tenet. Thank you, Magoo. Sorry. Went to Tenet, and then they're all Russian propaganda. And there's a bunch of these losers. Benny, Dave Rubin, didn't happen to Clint. Clint said, hey, I got asked. No, I tried, but I didn't get the money. Let's go back here. I evicted my 18-year-old years ago with my boot, but you didn't kill him. Okay. Sorry, Tyler. Double messages showing up as I fix that. I'm fine with it, everybody. Beta. Okay. Let's see this clip. And so this is a clip here of Lauren Chen. Was she being used? Did she know what she was getting into? This, because basically you're saying Russian propaganda. Here's what she said.
Hey, Lauren here. Let's talk about government propaganda. You know, the stuff that you see coming out of North Korea or heck, even Russia. Actually, let's talk about Russia for a second. As Vice News put out, Russian TikTok influencers are actually being paid to spread Kremlin propaganda. And in fact, as people on social media have found, there are several different Russian TikTok influencers who can be seen reading the exact same script to their audience, words that were probably given to them by the Russian government. Thank goodness that type of thing would never happen in a Western country. That's so outrageous.
Okay, that's so I guess the comment would be, Tyler, this is what you say when you're acting. But I don't know what she did that was spreading propaganda for the Russian side. And by the way, I probably should do a little bit of research on this, but I know this just from being old, which was James Carville, Hillary Clinton, many Paul Begala. They used to go to foreign countries and help them with their elections. I don't know if that's good, bad. That doesn't sound good from the other country's perspective. I would have trouble with that, right? A little influence. And you don't think we push money into these other, we being the U.S., push money into these other countries to influence their elections? I'm sure we do it. So let's stop acting like it's a big bad thing. But once again, conservatives get the caught with their their pants down. And I mean, would you take $10 million? I probably would take $10 million. Yeah. So it's tough to do. So I think that's what we have. So we're looking for another Nick. By the way, you got to like this show. You have to subscribe to this show. You have to, people. It's imperative that you do so. I don't think we didn't get, look at this. No, you motherfuckers. There's not one, there's no super chats. How dare you? How dare you? That's my chat for you. Subscribe, and hopefully there's some more info on Nick coming out. I'm looking forward to it. If anybody finds stuff you want to send me to take a look at, we'll do it. Maybe we'll break down this indictment stuff. We can do some more legal things here. I don't want to necessarily have to read all this stuff. It does bother Andy, he says, but that's because Andy doesn't read himself. So, or actually he reads better than I do. So that's perhaps perhaps on me. Should I look at any other stuff in my bookmarks? I bookmarked a bunch of stuff to try to have. Okay, Lauren Chen. There's some Kill Tony thing. Stefan Cancella's still talking about weighing in on Walter Block. Perfect. He's got something there. Cassandra, she's been going hard. She says this. This is the booker for. Thanks. Thank you. I would take all you guys out to coffee if I could. Dr. Madness says, I support you, homie. I appreciate that. She said the only reason the right is getting off so hard about this Lauren Chen stuff is because she loudly opposed Israel. Now they can be like, see, only shields oppose Israel. So I feel like it's important to loudly say, okay, she says F Israel. The hypocrisy is suffocating because when the U.S. wants to interfere in international affairs of other countries, including large countries like Russia, China, Iran, etc., I promise you they do a lot more than take 10 million and use it to fund independent media. This is Glenn Greenwald. Independent media sites where they can play their messages. That is child's play. That's a good way to end this thing. All right, everybody, we are gonna go out of here. I hope you had a good Friday. We did about an hour. I would love to do this every day, but I can't. So in that regard, we're going to play out on Player. Little dulcet tones of Player. Baby, come back. I mean, some of these 70s songs are just whisper to me. I'm a little older than that. It's not my favorite genre. What is my favorite genre? Here you go. This is more of my speed, actually. The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. And we'll go. All right, Charles chimes in. Thanks for the show. Bye, Tyler. Fix your. By the way, Minder, you helped me on this. I did have a back problem. It is doing great. Things are on the mend. I just got to get back in the gym and get in shape. Everybody, go out, do something great this weekend. Go to the gym. Find that spouse you've been looking for. Tell your mom hi. Give your dad a call. I don't know what you're doing, but love you all. Take care. Until next week. See ya.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen.
That was the perfect answer. Thank you.